Welcome to episode 102. Every business has to hire people at some point in time, unless, of course, you're a sole operator. And it really is one of the most time-consuming, expensive, but also highly impactful activities that you can undertake in your business. But so many people that are undertaking recruitment, even though it is hugely important, are not trained or experienced, and sometimes they're just not very good at hiring. So if you're looking to grow your business, you need to get really, really good at your hiring processes. And even if you use a recruitment agency to do some of the heavy lifting, there's still a lot that you need to do to get the process right in your business. And today I'm discussing taking a candidate-centric approach to recruitment. Because, like many things in the workplace, the way that we hire has significantly changed, even just in the last 5 years, let alone the last 10 or 15. And one of the biggest mistakes that I still see hiring managers do is treating the recruitment process like they are the manager and they hold all the power and they sit in judgment on the candidates. And you just cannot do that these days. Well, not if you want to hire the right people. Not only have candidate expectations changed, but most of the time we do not have the luxury of lots of great candidates to be able to take that kind of stance. So candidate-centric means that we are essentially thinking about the candidates as we would potential customers. So we are trying to understand their needs, and we're making the recruitment process and the recruitment experience a positive one that meets their needs and builds a long-lasting relationship. So the process steps I'd like you to consider through a candidate-centric lens are 5 main steps. So the first is the application process. Secondly, communication through the recruitment steps. Thirdly is the selection process. 4 is feedback. And finally, ongoing communication and relationship building. So if we start with step 1, the application process. So if we're taking a candidate-centric approach, then we are making it easy. If you are asking for cover letters, then please just stop. Especially if we're looking at the different generations in the workplace. If you're looking to hire anyone who's Gen Y, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, they're not going to give you a cover letter. And if they are, it's probably going to be created through ChatGPT. And I mentioned in episode 98, when you're hiring early career candidates, you could also think, instead of a cover letter, why not just offer applicants a 15-minute phone call so that you can really understand their motivation for applying, and you can also give them more information about the job and your company. So it's important to start thinking about, who is our target market in terms of our candidates, consider those generational differences, and then consider, well, what am I actually trying to get out of this application? So I've asked people in the past just to provide something that really shows their motivation for applying in the way that suits them best. So whether that's sending an email, a document, drawing a picture, sending a video, whichever way that they feel is going to be able to give them the opportunity to show why they're interested in the role. So that first step, that application process, really important. Don't just do the process that you've always done. Think about what the job is, think about who the candidates are, and how do I match this to the candidates? Okay, secondly, the communication through the recruitment steps. And this is where time just has to be invested. Communication through the steps is not just letting the candidates know where they are at the moment and what's happening next, but also understanding if the candidate has any time constraints. So, I remember a couple of years ago hiring for quite a senior role and for a client, and we couldn't get a candidate into a face-to-face interview. The candidate was working in a highly pressured organization and just was not able to do face-to-face as a first step. Now, it would be easy to say, well, That's our process. We're the employer, talk to the hand, we're not going to interview you. But we didn't do that because we understood the reasons why the candidate gave. And so we went ahead and did video interviews. And only when we got to that final stage that we then make sure that we had some face-to-face time, because that's good for the employer, but it's also good for the candidate. So just thinking about, what's happening in the candidate's world at the moment also. And it's really important to ask candidates, are you applying for other jobs at the moment? Because that will help you to understand, are they active? And therefore, if your process is slower, are you going to lose them? Okay, thirdly, the selection process. So back in episode 38, I went through why coffee chats don't work, why we have to interview properly. And this selection process really is the most important part. So consider the research that's out there. Use appropriate assessments. So whether they're psychometric assessments or whether they're job example type assessments, but thinking about what can we do to enable the candidate to show their best self, to show their skills and their experience and knowledge, but also make us comfortable that they will be the right person for the job. And just having a chat over coffee is not going to give you that. So we also need to make sure that with this selection process, whatever it is, that we're also training our hiring managers. So really important that the people that are involved in this process and the decision making really understand what their role is. Okay, fourth, feedback. So not only should we be giving feedback to candidates, but we should be asking them for feedback on their experiences as well. And I know it can be difficult to give feedback to candidates, especially sometimes you just genuinely have two candidates and it's a bit of a toss of the coin, so to speak, and it's hard to then explain to someone why they didn't get the job over somebody else. But what we can do is give people feedback in real time about, I think that you really presented yourself really well today, or you really explained that example really well. Or, actually you were 10 minutes late, and punctuality is really important to us in our business. And because you didn't provide us with a reason for that, that really impact on our ability to engage with you through the interview, whatever it might be. But also asking the candidates for their feedback as well. How did you find the process? Were you given enough information? Were you kept informed? Would you recommend us as an employer to other people? Because maybe they're going to become a good referrer for you. Which takes us to number 5, ongoing communication and relationship building. So when we're talking about a candidate-centric approach, we're looking at building long-term relationships with candidates. So stay in touch, even if they're unsuccessful. Maybe you will never have a suitable role for them, but perhaps they will end up as a customer, or they'll end up as someone that will refer other potential candidates to you. You just never know in this world when you're going to come across somebody again. So having that ability to do that and ask people's permission as well to stay in touch is a really great way to keep this process with the candidate in mind. So I hope you've received value from this episode. I'd love it if you could leave a rating or a review over at Apple Podcasts or Spotify so somebody else can also find the episodes to help with their business. Episodes are released every second Monday, so click the subscribe button and you'll be notified of when it's available. Thanks so much for joining me. If you have any feedback, questions, or ideas for future episodes, just head on over to amplifyhr.com.au or connect with me on LinkedIn and we can start a conversation.